I have a really fun episode for you guys today. I've been coaching for over a decade and I learned a lot over the last 10 years of what to do and what not to do, okay? Listen, there are always better strategies and more tools that I and you could probably learn to continuously improve our coaching, but sometimes learning what to stop doing is just as critical, if not more so, than knowing what to do. And when you can really understand the boundaries and limitations and potential pitfalls, and ideally learn them from people who have gone ahead of you and can share that information with you proactively, it's going to help you avoid mistakes, burnout, and ensure that your coaching practice remains focused on truly helping your clients in a way that's sustainable for everyone involved. So today I'm going to be sharing the 10 things I stopped doing as a life coach. And I'm going to break down what I was initially doing, why I stopped, and I'm going to give an antidote or a little tip to replace that behavior for every single one. So I'm super excited for today's episode. It's going to be a juicy one. I hope you're ready to take some notes. Let's go ahead and dive in. So number one, what I stopped doing was trying to explain my job or what coaching was or my role on social media or what I was talking about to non-supportive family and friends. I was constantly seeking this external approval from those in my life because I thought it was really important, and I felt so much doubt and uncertainty in the beginning that I was trying to build my confidence and my conviction and my commitment and my certainty through these external forces. But I really had to learn that although it was wanted, that external validation, it actually wasn't needed. I was wasting more energy and just fueling my doubt by trying to explain myself to these individuals and convince them that this was going to work when they didn't really understand or want to understand, or they were letting their own fear and projecting that onto me, even though it was probably coming from a place of love and care. I was letting that infiltrate my mind and fuel my doubt and hold me back. So instead of trying to over-explain myself, I really just started focusing on my ideal client and speaking to them knowing that I knew what to say, I knew what they were struggling with, and I knew I could help, and that it was going to resonate with them, and that's all that I cared about serving. And I also, when I needed help or support, started seeking out specialized help and paying for support. When I am in spaces with others who get it, other coaches, other female entrepreneurs, other people in the personal development world, I can show up fully in my fears and in my dreams and in my problems and get relevant and helpful advice that moves me forward in my business. I was scared to talk about the problems I was having because people would say, oh, it must be nice, or oh, you're so lucky. And it was really this comparative suffering piece where people were really just shutting down my insecurities or my fears or my difficulties because my circumstances were different than theirs. And everyone always thinks the grass is greener on the other sides. Little tangent for you guys. To be human is to have problems. I just choose my problems, okay? So it doesn't matter if you're a homeowner or a renter, there's pros and cons to each. It doesn't matter if you're single or in a relationship, pros and cons to each. Doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or an employee, problems with each. So just choose your problems, but make sure that the advice that you're seeking is from individuals who truly get it and can be helpful and relevant. And so what that looks like for me is I always put a portion in my budget every year to invest in help if and when I need it. So I've hired one-on-one coaches, I've joined masterminds, I've joined groups, I've joined self-paced programs or specialized trainings at various points in my career and business over the last decade because I have realized that feeling supported by people who get it is invaluable. So here's the second thing I stopped doing. I stopped coaching for free. I know that I might get a little bit of flack for this, but let me explain myself. This was actually a really hard and long learning curve because I had a lot of guilt associated with this decision. I think it came from my background as a therapist where I was really into social justice. I was an advocate. I worked with a lot of people who didn't have resources and would accommodate to make sure that they were getting the services they needed. And I brought that mentality into my coaching business. And I didn't realize that I had the luxury of doing that when I was on a salary. I did not have the luxury of doing that when I was on commission per se. And I really thought and felt that I was obligated to help everyone and that by offering free coaching, people would see my value and want to work with me. And that wasn't always true. And so what I had to do to overcome this and really discontinue this was to become not afraid to charge for my time or my expertise, even for people who weren't paying clients. And what helped me do that is realizing that the information they were getting from me for free through dinner or at events or through coffee or picking my brain on phone calls or texting me over and over again were lessons that I had to learn the hard way. And that took me time, and that took me tears, and that took me energy, and sometimes investing even money to learn. And the other thing that really helped me bring this point home and discontinue this behavior was from years of doing it, what I realized is that a lot of individuals that were picking my brain or getting free coaching from me were not implementing the information that I had worked so hard to not only learn for myself, but share with them. And that was really frustrating and starting to build a little bit of resent. And so I really started being mindful of who and where and what type of information and energy I was exchanging. And so now I do provide quote unquote free coaching, but it is through social media, it is on the podcast, it is through my email list, it is through Coach Question of the Week, it's through webinars that I run for free, and I do it in group platforms. And what I focus on sharing is the what and the why. I give them the tools, but I make sure that that implementation and the struggle of actually utilizing that information is done on their own. And if they want help or support in integrating that information or applying it to their specific situation, then they can book a consultation and hire me. And here is my third tip. I stopped being available 24/7. I'm not a specialist surgeon that it's life or death. We work in the coaching industry. No one's going to die if we don't answer their email immediately. And I felt like I always had to be on when I had this mentality of my clients need me and that I had to be accessible all the time. And what that ended up creating was it was hard for me to be present in my own life because I was constantly on my phone. I was constantly checking my DMs, constantly checking my email. My clients were texting me late at night or early in the morning or in the middle of the day during quote unquote crisis moments and really wanting a response from me when I didn't have the time or capacity or energy or was in the right headspace to actually support them. And what it did in the beginning when I was constantly and immediately responding to them was it was subconsciously creating this dependence on me and this dependence on the coaching that they needed to consult with me, that they didn't have the skills or the ability to do it on their own. And so now what I do to circumvent that dependence and to also have time and space to be a human, not just a coach on call, is that I have working hours. I have working hours and I have specific forms of communication that clients can use in between our sessions that we decide on ahead of time and we communicate ahead of time and we understand what those boundaries are. And what that does is it protects me and it allows for me to be effective because when I'm on, I'm on, and when I'm off, I'm off. And when I respond, I'm in the right headspace and I can be really effective. And it allows the client to really acknowledge and reflect on, do I need to reach out to my coach right now? Is this really urgent or a crisis or an emergency? Can I do this on my own? What skills have I learned? And it gives them an opportunity to implement what we've been learning and really utilize their coaching so that they can create these corrective experiences, build their skills, build their capacity, and build their confidence. The fourth thing I stopped doing as a life coach is I stopped over-promising. What I mean by this is that I thought the more I gave, the more value I would have and the more helpful I was. And there is a little truth to that, but a truer statement is that the more effective you are, the more value you have. And so it wasn't about going over on sessions or offering free bonus calls or longer packages or 911 calls and just being constantly available or promising to change their entire lives. It was about being effective and saying yes with conviction and confidence about being able to deliver the results that you're promising. And so what this really helps me do now is manage my expectations and manage the client's expectations. It helps me manage time more appropriately and actually over deliver in quality, in the service and in the results, because I'm really staying in my lane and I'm letting them know here are the time constraints. I'm going to show up 110% and I need you to show up 110%. And I have a process that's been proven to work. I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to show up to the same level that you do, and I'm going to over deliver if and when applicable, but I don't feel obligated to give and give and give and give and give to try to get the client a result. Which takes me to the fifth thing I stopped doing, which is overscheduling myself. So this is similar to number 4, but what I was doing in the beginning of my business was taking on as many clients as I could. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. In the beginning, you really do want to get as much practice as you can and focus on booking consultations and making sales and working with clients and allowing that to increase your ability to coach and practice your skill set and inform your systems and your processes and your offerings. But now what I do is charge a premium, and I really focus on working with ideal clients, and I show up 100% for them. So my schedule isn't filled with 30 clients one-on-one, back-to-back, all day, every day. I actually only take on 10 one-on-one clients a year, and I run my coach certification program twice a year, and I focus on all of my nurturing content like this YouTube channel, our podcast, our coach question of the week, and obviously managing our social media and email lists. And what this has done for me is created space in my calendar to not just serve clients, but serve myself. So not only am I just doing coaching, but I'm working on myself as the entrepreneur, as a CEO, as the visionary. I'm working on my business, not just in my business. And I have time and space to really think about my clients and prepare for our sessions and continuously learn strategies and techniques to support them the best way that I can and really make sure that I'm being effective. The sixth thing that I stopped doing is taking clients' results personally. I would carry this burden if my clients didn't receive a particular result. And I'm not saying I don't care that their coaching experience is positive or that they are successful. I really do. But what I've learned is to not work harder than my clients or to take responsibility for the results or lack thereof. It enables them and disempowers them, and it is not a good dynamic to have in coaching. And the other reason I stopped doing it is because I didn't want to take on their disappointment due to their lack of discipline. Okay. And so the thing that I've replaced this with is being committed versus attached to the coaching process and to the result. So what I mean by that is I'm going to show up with deep conviction, consistency, and commitment to the process. We're going to work hard. We're going to do what we need to do to get the result. But I'm not attached to it. It doesn't need to happen exactly the way we planned, on the timeline, or in the way we thought. And what that really helps us do is be committed to the process and the journey and continuously show up and pivot, even when it gets hard or it doesn't go according to plan, versus it needing to be the way that we thought, or else it's a fail. And that is also something that I've applied to my own coaching that has been so helpful, that I am committed, not attached to the result and the timeline. And it's really helped us create a sustainable model that has been successful and continuously grows year after year. The seventh thing I stopped doing as a coach is I stopped duplicating quote unquote top coaches. This was actually a really hard one because I do think success leaves breadcrumbs, and I follow the breadcrumbs. I think it's one of the reasons I've been able to be successful. But I thought that there was a particular way that I needed to be successful, and that was the only way, and that is not true. Yes, there are tools and techniques and strategies that are important to learn and implement in your business to get the types of results that you're probably wanting, but you can't duplicate positioning, meaning you can't become another person. You have to understand who you are, what your process is, and work within that. Authenticity is going to connect, and connection is what's going to convert in today's saturated market. And so you can't try to be someone else. And I have a quick story for you guys to really bring this point home. I remember when I first started my business, I was in a mastermind with a lot of other successful female entrepreneurs, particularly in the online coaching space. And the top performers in that mastermind had a particular style. And I don't mean any judgment. I'm just sharing this as a story to kind of bring this point home. They were a little bit more eccentric in their presentation. So their style was a little different than mine. They wore a lot of flowy clothing. They had a more spontaneous lifestyle. They would do things like feather earrings and glitter makeup. And so I thought, okay, if I want to create that type of business, I need to do that too. And so I remember my very first professional photo shoot, I wore like this lace top and flowy pink skirt, and I wore like feather earrings. And I felt so uncomfortable in that photo shoot that I changed halfway through, and I put on a pair of jeans, a white t-shirt, and I was able to capture a version of myself that felt super authentic. And I ended up not using the previous photos at all because it felt so out of alignment. I felt like I was trying to be someone else and that I was faking it. And it wasn't resonating with me, and I knew it wasn't going to resonate with my people. And even today in my branding, I really had to identify that I am educated and that I want to present quality information that's research-based and backed by science, but that I am a little edgy. I curse, I have tattoos, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm from Philly. You're going to get that if you spend a lot of time with me. And that is something that my clients really appreciate, that I'm relatable, but I'm still professional, and that I can kind of break it down and be down to earth, but I also know my shit and I'm not going to sugarcoat things. And that duality really is my superpower, and it's something that informs my positioning and my branding and allows me to enjoy my job and show up fully, and has made my business more successful. Okay, I'm loving this so far. This has been so much fun for me to really sit back and identify the top 10 things that I stopped doing to be successful as a life coach. If any of this is resonating with you, definitely let me know, and throw things in the comments in terms of what you stopped doing if I'm not capturing some things that might be helpful. But here's the 8th thing that I stopped doing as a life coach, and it's stop being nice. Now, this is because that is a shadow side of caring. Now, I'm kind and I am relatable and I'm approachable and I'm accessible, but I'm not necessarily nice, meaning I was so afraid of hurting my clients' feelings or ruffling feathers or not being liked that I wouldn't say the hard thing, that I was really avoiding holding them accountable or offering constructive feedback or shedding light on their blind spots or challenging them in a way that was going to help them step into a new version of themselves or achieve a goal that they haven't before, because I was so afraid of them getting upset with me. And I needed to realize that the reason they hired me was to be their coach, not their cheerleader, to be their coach, not their friend. And so the antidote to this was that I had to really realize that they are hiring me. They are looking to me as a paid professional with a skill set to deliver a result, and that their friends are there to offer support and a listening ear, but I'm here to utilize tools to help them grow. I actually have an entire podcast episode on this called The Shadow Side of Caring. So if this kind of hit a nerve for you and you think this is an area of opportunity for you as well, definitely check that out in the Art and Skill of Coaching podcast on Apple and Spotify and take a listen. The 9th thing that I stopped doing was being too comfortable in my coaching. When I first made the transition into full-time coaching and full-time entrepreneurship, I definitely took advantage of that, okay? I would take calls on my cell phone, in the car, I would be wearing a hoodie, coming from the gym, I would be in my bedroom, I would take them late at night, I would be like 5 minutes late. But I realized if I wanted to grow my business and book the type of clients that would really support me in my next level, that I needed to become that type of coach, and I needed to upgrade how she showed up in her business. And so I really started kind of thinking about, okay, instead of this small business, I run a coaching company. Instead of just being a coach, I'm a CEO. And I really needed to start to treat my business as a company where I was the leader, I set the culture, I set the standard, and that it wasn't a hobby and that it wasn't something that was super lax. People were paying me a lot of money to help them change their lives, and that was deeply important to me, and I wanted to show up as a professional. And so now I have a work schedule that I work, and that's it. My phone goes on Do Not Disturb. I schedule around it. I don't move around calls. I don't schedule lunches or coffee dates or beach days last minute if I have clients scheduled. I really honor those appointments. I have a home office that I keep clean and that I don't do other business in. I get dressed up for my coaching calls. I don't wear hoodies or bathrobes or show up without my hair and makeup done. Now, that is for me. I'm not saying you need to do that, and I'm not saying I do that 100% of the time. If I'm sick, I cancel a call. If I need to wear a hoodie or take the call because I'm traveling in a hotel room, that's fine. But I show up at a certain standard because I expect that from my clients, and so I lead with that. And here's the 10th thing that I stopped doing as a life coach. I stopped depending on my coaches for results and stopped feeling entitled to success. What do I mean by this? This was a really tough lesson for me in 2024. I realized that I was only investing in coaches who would guarantee me the result, guarantee me the ROI, which is return on my investment. And I was passing the responsibility to them, and subconsciously, if I failed, it was their fault, not mine. And when you can't take responsibility for your portion of the problem, you can't take responsibility for your portion of the solution. And so I really needed to take a hard look in the mirror and realize that the result is my responsibility regardless of who I hire and regardless of how much money I spend on them. Now, do your due diligence and make sure that you're working with someone who's vetted and has a process that's been proven to work. But what this helped me do was show up prepared and ask questions and take calls seriously and immediately implement the coaching that I was getting, and then pivoting and problem solving on my own and bringing new material to the next coaching call. That is what helped me create my results and my growth when I invest in coaching. It's not necessarily the coach themselves, it's my responsibility for the process. And another point to this that I thought was important to include in here is that I had to stop feeling entitled to my success. I learned that just because I worked hard or because it worked for me in the past, that doesn't entitle me to be able to do it again. That thought that, oh, I should be able to do it or it should be easier, I shouldn't have to work this hard, was really holding me back. And what really helps me think about this is the Olympics. I love watching the Olympics, watching people be the best at what they do. I particularly love track and field because I ran track and field in high school, and the sprinters are amazing to me that they train every day for 4 years for a 10-second race. And just because they ran gold the last Olympics does not entitle them to a gold the next Olympics. They have to train just as hard, if not harder. Just because you had it before does not mean that you should have it again. You have to work hard every single time. So those are the 10 things that I stopped doing as a life coach. I stopped trying to explain my job to non-supportive family and friends. I stopped coaching for free. I stopped being available 24/7. I stopped over-promising and under-delivering. I stopped over-scheduling myself. I stopped taking clients' results personally. I stopped duplicating quote-unquote top coaches. I stopped being too nice. I stopped being too comfortable in my coaching and stopped depending on my coaches for results and feeling entitled to success. These are lessons I have gathered from the last decade as an entrepreneur and coach, which have been super valuable to me, my clients, and my business. It's really helped me build something sustainable, successful, and valuable because I'm focused on what works and I'm immediately discontinuing what doesn't. So if you're a coach or whatever industry you're in, maybe ask yourself, what should I stop doing that would help me be better in my role? And if you like this question, you would love Coach Question of the Week, which is where every single Monday morning, you'll kick off the week with a fresh and powerful coaching question. It goes right into your inbox, guys, and you can utilize it to coach yourself or your clients. It's free, and it's such a valuable resource to have. It's like having me in your pocket every Monday morning to kick off the week. So I'll throw the link to get yours in the show notes. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please leave us a review. Share this link to listen on your socials and with your loved ones. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss a new video, and check out other short trainings to continue up-leveling your coaching skill. I'll see you guys soon.